Hey now Brawlers, my name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and today we're going to take a look at Friday the 13th from ELO Games and Reiner Knizia, the Reiner Knizia. And for those of you that came to this video expecting to see a game about a hockey mask wearing psychopath, well, there may yet be a game about that. This is not it. This one has a cute cat on the cover, so you pretty much know what you're in for this. This is actually a very simple card game. I think this game has been released several times in the past as other things. This is like a retheming of other games, like I think Poison was one of the versions of this. And if you're used to traditional card games, you'll be really at home here if you've ever played Hearts. This game is very similar to Hearts. That's one of the things that before I purchased the game and I read the rules, it sounded a lot like Hearts, and that's one of the things that attracted me to it, because I don't like a lot of traditional card games. Like, I hate spades because people just get angry at each other. You get angry at your partner, and I had no interest in cribbage or any of that other kind of stuff. But I liked Hearts a lot. So what this is, thematically speaking, and there's really no theme here, but there are cards that represent bad luck omens. There's broken mirrors, there's people walking under ladders, and there's black cats. And then there's also cards that are just called Friday the 13th cards. And you're just playing these cards down the center of the table in different stacks, and you're trying not to take cards, because if you take cards, those are going to be negative points for you at the end of each of the rounds. You'll play over 4 rounds. But if you can have the majority of a type of omen, not counting the Friday the 13th cards, you won't have to take points for those. So it's a little bit similar to how in Hearts, if you take points, that's bad. But if you take all the points, nothing bad happens to you. It just happens to the other players. That similar sort of vein. So it's a very simple game. Let's just do a brief overview of it. Then we're going to come back. I'll give you my final opinion. Alright, I'm going to give you a brief overview of Friday the 13th. This is a competitive card game for 3 to 6 players. The goal of the game is at the end of 4 rounds of play, you want to have the least amount of points. This is one of those games where points is bad, or points are bad. Maybe I can even speak. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to have this deck of 50 bad omen cards, or bad luck cards. Thematically, and there's not much of a theme to this, it's because there's all these bad omens and you're trying to get rid of all of your bad luck. And try to make sure you're the player with the least amount of bad luck and the most amount of good luck, I suppose. But you're going to deal out this this deck of 50 bad luck cards evenly out to all the players at the table. Now, in a 3-player game, you're actually going to deal a phantom 4th hand that's not going to be used. You're just going to shove it to the side each round. And when you have, no matter the amount of players in the game, it's possible that players are going to end up with more or less cards than the other players, and that's okay. That's just how it's supposed to work. You just deal out the deck as evenly as possible. Now, there are 4 main suits of cards. 3 of them are what we would call bad omens cards. So you have ladder cards, so walking underneath a ladder, any kind of card. The artwork will change, but the color will always be bluish in the background, and it'll always have a picture of a ladder. The other suit, one of the other suits, is the black cat. So again, the artwork will change, but it'll always be kind of greenish in the background with the cat. And then you have a broken mirror, which will always be yellow, orangish in the back. There's 11 each of these cards in the deck, and they come in denominations of, I believe off the top of my head, it's 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7. So, and there's like maybe 3 or 2 of each of those, and they add up to 11 total cards for each of those 3 suits. The 4th suit are Friday the 13th cards, and these are always 4s, and they have sort of a reddish background. Now, once everyone's got their hand of cards, on your turn, you're going to play 1 card. That's it. That's all that you do. When you play any one of these of the 3 normal suits of cards, you're going to start a stack for each of them. So every time someone plays one of those cards for the first time, you're going to start off a new stack that are just going to be made of that suit of cards, either ladders, black cats, broken mirrors. If it's a Friday the 13th card, this will never ever form its own 4th stack, but it can be played on any of the 3 stacks. And I might be wrong on this rule clarification, or I might need some clarification, but I believe that this can even start a stack, but it can't be its own stack. So if you have this out here by itself, another card of one of these suits is going to go on top of it, and that's going to be the stack. It cannot be a 4th stack. But in any event, You're just going to play a card down. That's all that you do. Pick one of the cards from your hand, put it down in one of the 3 stacks, whatever is appropriate. Of course, the cards in your hand are secret information. Now, the trick here is that as players are playing cards down, the value of each of these piles is going to increase. The value meaning the number. So, for instance, let's say that I've got my hand of cards here, and I decide to play another card here down in the mirror. Well, now the value is 6. And then I play another one, or someone else plays another one. Well, now the value is 8. Well, okay, not a big deal. But let's say that that continues like that, and more players are playing down cards, and then someone finally plays a 7. Now, the total number here is going to add up to 15, if my math is correct. And now that is when it becomes a problem, because as you know, the theme of the game, 13 is the number that you're trying to avoid. In this case, it's actually exceeding 13. If a stack gets up to 13 from the card that you played, that's fine. But if it exceeds 13, then you have to take these cards. The last card that you played is actually going to start off a new stack, and every other card that was previously in that pile is going to go face down in front of you until the end of the round, and then you're going to score them. Each one of these 3 suits of bad omens cards is going to count as 1 point at the end of the round. Remember that points are bad. And the Friday the 13th cards that you are forced to take, if those happen to be in the stack as well when you take them, those are each going to be worth 2 points, so those are doubly worse. Now, there's one thing that mitigates that, however. If at the end of the round you have the most of one of these 3 suits, in other words, you just kept playing a lot of yellow cards and therefore you took a lot of the yellow ones, and you have more than any of the other players, so a clear majority, not just a tie, then you are not going to have to count any of that suit of cards for your negative points. So if I have the most yellow, it doesn't matter if I have all 11 yellow cards, not a single one of them will count for a point against me. The Friday the 13th cards will still count as points, 2 negative points, or 2 positive points, which are bad against you, and you can never have a majority in the Friday the 13th cards. Those will never get discarded and not count for points. But if you can get a majority in any of the other ones, those will not count against you. So that's the whole game, is trying to play cards in such a way that you take the least amount of points possible, or try and make sure that you get as many of one particular suit or more as you can, so that you won't have to actually take points for them at the end of the round. You're going to play 4 rounds of this, score after each round. At the end of 4 rounds, whoever has the highest total, well, whoever has the lowest total is going to be the winner. Everyone else who has the higher totals are the losers, and that's Friday the 13th. So I really enjoyed Friday the 13th, but you need to know what you're getting into when you get into this game. So I played it with 2 groups of gamers, in my Saturday group and then in another group on Sunday, and a couple of people in both of those groups just didn't like it. Just didn't outright like it at all. Because what happens here is that while the scoring is very similar to Hearts, Hearts is a much more controlled game. You know exactly what you're working with, and there's, I'm not going to say that you have an obvious play that you should do, but if you have your goal set in mind, there is an obvious play that you should have. But in this game, there's much more to it than that. It's much more open-ended, because you have 3 different sets of cards. You have 3 different stacks. You have those Friday the 13th cards. And if you're playing with 3 players, which is actually what we did in the first game, first group that I played this with, you actually you deal a 4th hand of cards that don't go to anybody. So that's like more randoms, because that's more stuff that's out. Like in a normal game with more players, you know that there's 8 Friday the 13th cards roaming around out there. Not so when you have a 4th phantom hand that's not being played by anyone. So there's more chance to this game. And, even with every card in circulation, you can't account for what other players are going to do. And if they make poor moves, that could incidentally or accidentally throw your plans off as well. But that being said, for me, I love it a lot. I love how because it's very difficult for you to figure out what to do. It's not like a guaranteed thing. Do you just try your best to absolutely take no points whatsoever? No, I don't want points, total it out. Or do you just say, you know what, I'm going for this. I have a majority in my hand of this certain type of card. That means I control that suit. So I'm going for it, And then how do you play your Friday the 13th is key. If you're stuck with a Friday the 13th in your hand, but you're going for a majority of a suit, well, remember that card that you play last on a suit that makes it go over 13, that one's going to stay there. So that's a good way to get rid of Friday the 13th. Or if you know you're not going for a particular suit, if you can avoid taking it, if you can put down a Friday the 13th on it without taking it, do it to load up somebody else with Friday the 13th who might be going for that suit to get a majority in it. So I like that back and forth. I like the open-ended options of it. It's a very simple game. It's got beautiful artwork. I really love the artwork, especially the cat artwork. And it's delightful to me. I love the box. The box has this cool magnetic strip that I wish all my small games had. But you know, again, it's not going to be for everybody. There's no theme to it, and there's no in spite of the artwork, there's not, you know, it's not like a very like, oh, I gotta play that game type of feel to it. I just like it. I like this kind of simple game. I don't know why I like it. I love card games in general. So while you'll never find me playing like, you'll hardly ever find me playing like an abstract like pieces game like chess or Go, or you know anything else like that, or like the Ginch or whatever series of games. A game like this is very simple and abstract. I just dig. I just do. It's just fun. It's light. It's fast if you play it. You don't have to do 4 rounds if you don't want. Do whatever you want to do, but I enjoy it. What can I say? I don't know what the differences are from these previous iterations. If you like those previous iterations and you like the artwork on this one, then you already know you should pick it up. And if you haven't tried anything else like this, but if you do like other types of light card games, if you like hearts, definitely worth a shot. That's Friday the 13th from ELO. I give it a good recommendation. My name is Nick. This has been Board Game Brawl, and I'm reminding you to get out there and game every day in every way. Take care.